Welcome to the Barker Podcast Collection.
I suck, you suck, I suck at Call of Duty.
Welcome to the Not Playing Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and today I'm joined by
Marcus Hurley
and Will.
I'll be honest, I need a year with the lineup of some serious games coming up, and I'll play some little bits in between, I'm sure. But the release schedule over the next year is giving me a very serious game to play. Borderlands in September will see me through for a good couple of months, I think, with the online stuff, which will take me to the Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds, if this is a Fallout 4 scale of game, for example, that's going to see me well past Christmas. I'll have a couple of months to deal with some backlog before Watch Dogs comes along in March, which I'll have to get out of the way really rapidly to deal with Cyberpunk in April if I'm not waiting for the next generation, and we'll see how that goes. But if I don't pick up Cyberpunk in April, I might have a crack at Final Fantasy VII and wait for the next generation on Cyberpunk. This is not a bad problem to have.
No, well, I've taken that first week after Easter off, so I figure I've got Easter weekend and a couple of days where I can just play Watch Dogs round the clock to finish it, to play nice. Cyberpunk on the Thursday, and then have the following week to play Cyberpunk and do nothing else. I'm just going to put glow sticks around my flat, load the freezer up, and lock the door, shut the blinds, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Goodbye.
Can I recommend you at least keep the window open, though?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll experiment.
Particularly if you're living on frozen pizza, definitely want to keep a window open.
That's
I think
plan.
I'm going to be a hermit when FF7 comes out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much, you're probably not going to see me.
I'll say, if I do end up waiting for the next generation to play Cyberpunk, which is a genuine possibility, I'll grab Final Fantasy and try and figure out what all the fuss is about.
I mean, I completely get it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's just, for me personally, it's like Resident Evil 2, the original on the PlayStation, compared to what they've done now with this one.
Well, that's it. I have played every single Final Fantasy since I started playing Final Fantasies at Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah.
With the exception of the online one.
Yeah.
Bollocks to that.
I was curious how the hell they were going to do the combat, though.
Yeah. But if I
That's the one thing that was bugging me.
But I will treat this as Final Fantasy 16, right? This is a new Final Fantasy game. It's the old story, but it's a new Final Fantasy game.
Or is it? That's the thing. It looks like they're changing some parts of it.
Oh, they're changing the battle system. They're changing it so you can pause it. You can pause the fights if you want to, but it's got an active battle system that is more like the 15 style of combat, is what I understand.
Yeah.
But you can pause it and do tactical. But every Final Fantasy game is different.
Access.
But I'm perfectly happy treating it as an entirely new game, not thinking about it as a throwback to what it was. Because if they've modernised the scripting because the story scripts were cheesy, it can't be better than 8 because frankly they're all cheesy. The
thing is, it is weird because like the boss they showed on there, that Scorpion one that was running around and all that sort of thing.
Did he shout "Get over here"? That was,
yeah, I think so. That was just like a short entry into the game in the original. It was literally like a mini boss. It was just to get used to you fighting something a bit larger than a guard. And they turned that into a full-fledged, like, running around. It's all real time. You literally run, hide behind things, dodging lasers, missiles, the lot. I'm impressed. No wonder they've been quiet.
But you got how Final Fantasy has evolved
and
over
you can
the
switch
years.
Players as well.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
You can switch characters during combat as well.
Yeah. But you used to control the whole party.
Yeah.
But it would be quite interesting to understand if they've kept with the new Final Fantasy vibe. So you've got in the old world, you had random battles as an example.
Yeah.
So in the new world, you come across people and you fight them. The question becomes, will it be random encounters coming out of nowhere randomly? Or will they have changed it so that you have to...
I can't... I don't know.
You see what I mean? Is this a new Final Fantasy but with the old story?
Yeah.
Or is this an old Final Fantasy with new graphics? And we've got so much to find out.
That's why I want to find out more. I'm happy they've shown as much as they have, because to be honest, I was getting really worried with all of the news coming out as it getting scrapped and started again. I'm fucking glad they did, because it looks absolutely sick.
It looks beautiful. It looks stunning.
And just, I'm glad they're actually showing stuff, because I was thinking, I'm seeing a lot of videos, a lot of rendering, and I'm not actually seeing much of the game.
That's it.
And for them to take 20 minutes, I was happy. If they stopped their conference there, which they should have done,
yes.
that would have been fine for me. They should have just done a direct. We're releasing this. Shut the fuck up, fanboys. And I would have been happy, because anything else they did, they didn't need to really. I didn't care. I was done then.
Yeah.
I'd seen Keanu. I'd seen that. I was a happy bunny.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a game that I played years ago that I would like to see remade, and I just can't think of one.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's, for me, it only holds a special place because it was the first full RPG I ever played back in 97.
Right.
And it was the first game I've ever played with the idea of an open world map. So once you leave the city, you're literally got this big 3D world and you can run around, and no one had seen that before. So
see, I would just rather play a different game.
Well, there are different games, and you can play them. But I'm
Yeah,
just
but
saying...
you can't though, because they're so big and long and take forever.
Well, start at one and start the other one when you've done with that one. I know what I'm going to be doing. You know what you're going to be doing. I've got no issue. I'm just saying, I'm a happy buddy.
I'm just trying to understand what is so great about this old game being remade.
If you'd played the game when you were younger, maybe did you ever play it?
No, he didn't. He doesn't get it. He doesn't. He doesn't really have that kind of inkling towards anyone.
I would feel similar. I'd feel far stronger about Final Fantasy VIII. That's where I started.
Yeah.
And I can. They're doing a remaster, which is.
Do you know why
the Have you seen the remaster of Final Fantasy?
It's awful.
It's shite. It doesn't look any different.
But do you know what?
That's the one I played. Was 8.
Yeah, but the remaster of that looks rubbish. Now, if they did
lost all the files.
Mm.
That's why they haven't done a HD remake or anything. That is literally, they've managed to recobble the PC port that came out about 6 months after the PlayStation or something like that.
Yeah, it's all right. 9 was the better game.
I'm hoping that's just a stopgap thing and they actually do something good with it, because it looks dog, to be honest.
If Final Fantasy VII remake works out well, then we might see a Final Fantasy 8, a Final Fantasy 9. I'd rather see 9 over 8. I preferred the story.
Yeah, I thought 9 was cool.
Yeah.
Isn't there a point though where they start to resemble modern games more, where a remake wouldn't really be a remake?
It's taking the
remaster
story
it?
and no. Oh, maybe, but not for a long time. But also, by the time they get there, it won't resemble modern games. It will resemble games now, and we're talking in 6 years' time, or 8 years' time. Who could say?
Yeah, because, like, to me, my understanding is they're taking a very flat 2D game and making it a 3D game.
No, they're completely building it, totally different engine. They're taking the story, they're taking the plot, they're taking the concepts, the characters, and they're building it again from scratch.
Right.
This is what they're doing with 7.
It's nothing
yeah,
like
I know, I understand that, but I'm just like...
They've changed everything about it. They're just retelling the story, but in a whole new setup.
So I guess this might be the equivalent, I think, for me, might be if they remade Deus Ex in VR.
Let's switch context. So, Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, not
the film.
Yes, the film. Which were the original one was early 70s, and then there was a 1990s remake.
Yeah, Zack Snyder one. Yeah.
Yeah. Which one was better?
The first one.
Okay, that's because you liked it more. But one was done with much more modern methods. They didn't keep the same script. They told the story again, but they did it differently.
Yeah, I think I know what you're trying to get at.
I just don't know how it's so hard to process, but it's all right.
I think we've probably spent enough time dwelling on it.
Yeah, let's move on. This is just,
I'm just so intrigued. I don't give a fuck if this is a whole episode.
I think it might be.
I just want to get to it because I'm sort of almost envious that there's no game that I have that much love
I suppose the weird thing about it would be taking something like Pirates of the Caribbean, the Disney ride, and the fact that they made the movie from it with Johnny Depp. In a very loose context, because that's all based on and has Easter eggs from that theme park ride.
Right.
So it's kind of taken the idea, the concepts, a lot of the characters and the locations and bits and pieces, and redoing it. That's what it is.
Is it because the original game has very obvious flaws, or is very obviously dated?
It
horribly
was
dated.
The game that
with a
put
great
Square on the
story.
map, apart from Dragon Quest.
I don't care what it did for Square. I'm talking about the game.
No, the game was fine.
Is it like people just want to go back to that, but they couldn't go back to it now because it would be that it just looks too shit?
I think to an extent it's not the looks, but I would say the old game is horribly dated. I don't think you'd argue with that, Marcus. It's
definitely
taking everything that was good about that game, but putting that into a modern game.
Okay,
I
think I get this now. It's like when they did the rebuild of Half-Life.
Oddly enough, I was thinking the Bionic Man. We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
Yeah, you're right. It's the concept. It's the idea of if they took, because people said the story of it was quite interesting. So it's the idea of taking the story and the characters and everything, because it was one of the most popular of the Final Fantasy games. But make a modern game with the characters and the story and the world in it.
Yeah, I think also what's exciting about this is that was there a Kickstarter for this?
No.
No,
no one knew it was coming.
That's Shenmue. I'm getting mixed up. I'm mixing up my JRPGs. No, so basically, like, this is like what they did when they did the Half-Life remake, but they've got like proper money behind it. Yeah. It's not like a fan-made
This will be
thing.
like a Half-Life remake if Netflix got hold of it.
Or it's like if Valve remade it like properly now. That would be. I kind of get it.
It's almost like that. It's a cult classic.
Yeah,
and they've taken it and yeah.
I think I've just been numbed by my constant consumption habits.
Well,
I'm never looking back. I'm never looking back.
No, you mentioned it a while back that you just never got into the whole genre, so it's not a thing for you. And it's one of those things. It's like, just as you guys are talking about the D&D stuff, that completely passed me by. I've never got involved in any of that. So my sort of feelings towards that are not apathetic, but I just was never really involved in D&D.
Actually, yeah.
So I don't have that same feeling.
Let's say they took Baldur's Gate 1, the game as it was, but they got Larian to remake it. We're using the quest line and the characters from Baldur's Gate 1, if they were that great, but they put it into the modern Larian system and did it that way. You'd kind of go, oh, I loved that game, and I'll definitely play it this way.
I didn't play Baldur's Gate 1. I only played a little bit of it. I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I would
it's
be
not
like
that hard. Let's not melt our brains over it. Yeah. I just think, because this is going to be.
I just don't have that much of a nostalgia thing. I think I just don't have like that much of a desire to look
To be
back.
honest, actually, I'll tell you what it is. It's like the Avengers films now. If you grew up reading the comic books in the 70s and you watch the Avengers, the films that they've done now, that's exactly what the feeling is. It's to being able to see, instead of all the shitty X-Men films and stuff that Marvel have done, and all of the other crappy Marvel-related films that have come out over the decades, to be able to see something that's amazing, and the whole Thanos arc.
Yeah.
Imagine reading that comic book when it came out in the 80s, 90s, and then knowing that someone's decided they're going to do that now. Which is why I got so excited when we first saw Avengers.
Right.
That's the feeling for me.
Yeah, I mean, I get like that about Star Wars. You know, I got like that.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just, I mean, there are people out there that don't get Star Wars, and I can see why. They're just not. Yeah. It's not their thing. But I'm just saying, for me personally, because I've got that investment over the years, and it was just as big a part of me growing up as watching Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and everything else. Having that news and knowing that there's a new way to play this game, which may not exist,
Yeah,
that's pretty much it for me. I mean, it's It's
I'm someone who won't even play a game a second time through.
well, that's
So the thought of going back to a game from 20 years ago,
yeah.
that's just not a thing I would ever do.
I still play it every now and then. I haven't played it in the last probably 5 years, but about 6 years ago I did. I still pick it up. I still play it. And millions of people still do. It's, it always comes up on Twitch still. People start doing a run. It was the first game as well that I put 120 hours into.
Really?
Yeah, it was. That's
Wow.
what I mean. It was literally a massive milestone game. It was easy to miss, but it was literally a big game. There was a lot to do. And it was the first time that people experienced a lot of grief around characters because of the story, and people are going to experience that all over again because it looks so fucking sick. But instead of it being like at the time when you're younger, and it's like, it's 2D little blocky 3D characters, sprites. It's this fully realised, livable world. And the amount of people and stuff in it, all the things they couldn't do, they could only hope and dream to have done. So that's why I'm excited about it on a personal level. That's it. I'm looking at pre-ordering it. I haven't quite pressed the button yet, but I've got a couple of tabs already open in my browser.
Are you going to get like the ridiculous thing with
not
the statue
Uber.
and
I actually do have like a couple of like figurines and stuff like that of the game I bought over the years. I've got T-shirts. I've got the hoodie. I've got soundtracks that I listen to in work. It's still very much for me something that I'm still a fan of, more so than the newer ones, because they don't, to me, feel the same. The stories don't often feel as involving as some of them did back then. And some people have that nostalgia for the even older ones,
But isn't
which
it
is
just
mental.
A time
It's a cult. It's a cult in a way.
Isn't it just a time and a place though? Like I wanted to play.
It kind of is.
I like the idea of Elite, but
Yeah, it
You have
kind
to
of
get
is,
rid-
but I suppose
you
it's a bit like bands. It's a bit like when people were there and they got into a band, but with a band you can retrospectively like it. But I think so that's a bit different. But I mean, a lot of people that are into music at the time were there because they were there when it was new, and they were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool," and they still listen to it.
yeah, but I went and saw Alice in Chains the other week, and that was I enjoyed that because those songs are still there,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed that. I'm not sure what point we're getting
Well, that's
to
why.
here.
Yeah, that's why I said it probably doesn't hold up because you can go back at any point in music, and some people will
Yeah, it
enjoy
doesn't
it or not.
require a 100-hour investment.
Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't. But I mean, that's to do like maybe everything because you can do. There were side games like raising creatures and stuff like that, and everything else. And to get absolutely everything, it could be probably about 99 or so hours.
Yeah, I think for me, like I had every interest in playing Elite again. The fact, the reality of the situation is, I have a job. I can't play Elite.
I don't know. The thing is, it's not. I'm trying to say, why do people like retro stuff? Why does the SNES, the mini SNES sell? Why does the mini? Why are Sega making the mini Mega Drive?
Because Nintendo did.
Yeah, but why did they do it?
I have to disagree. Nintendo definitely didn't do the mini Mega Drive.
Yeah,
True.
I'm just saying
There's a market for retro.
Yeah,
There is a market for it. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely there's been a market for Final Fantasy VII Remake for years before they announced it.
I think the point is, with Final Fantasy games, what is unique about a Final Fantasy game is that every Final Fantasy game is unique. Totally different people, totally different worlds, totally different systems, totally different setups. So it's just that if you forget that it's Final Fantasy VII and you remember that it's a game that was just the game that it is, and there was a game that was out, in 1997?
7. Yeah.
And everyone loved it, and they're basically remaking that game. It doesn't matter that there had been 6 before it, and there's been another lot after it. That was a unique game from that era, and they're doing a remake. And it's a game you loved when you were like 16, 17, and it's coming out again, but with modern gaming standards. I think that's the way to look at it. It's the fact that it's number 7 is a bit confusing, because if you said, oh, they're redoing Assassin's Creed 7, and you said that in 10 years, you go, oh, which one was that? Yeah.
That's why they stopped numbering them.
Exactly that. But Final Fantasy have carried on numbering them, probably to their detriment, because you've got people going, 15?
Definitely.
15? I haven't played the other 14. I'm not touching
It's the Japanese bloody mindedness, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think real gamers know the deal with Final Fantasy. Like, I mean, I've known that ever since 8, that I was clearly in on the ground floor with that game. But
I played 8, and then I played 9, and I went, this is nothing like Final Fantasy 8. There's a couple of common themes, and that's it.
It's like, well,
we were looking for 8 Part 2, which never happened.
Well, but this is the point. But it's a unique game that is absolutely adored, and they're doing a totally new version of it with totally new standards. They're redoing the battle system. They're building it from scratch. The only thing that remains the same is the names of the character and the overall plot. Even the plot they're tweaking from the sounds of it. And it's a much loved plot, so it's an exciting thing.
And they're not. And the thing is, there's so many other things as well, because there's been a movie that came out which was like a sequel to it, and they kind of fucked up the characters in it. They made like the main character emo, and there's all sorts of weird stuff going on. So it's the idea that they've ditched all that, and he seems to be a bit of an arsehole again at the beginning, but he's got a bit more character and stuff. And it is just returning another chance to enjoy this.
I just want to know
in a new medium.
I just want to know
new way.
I just want to know how he swings that sword around without putting his back out. Honestly, it's a health and safety risk.
Anyway, to be honest, it's the game I've been looking forward to for absolutely ages. Ages.
And that's why I thought it was worth just like spinning this out a bit, because clearly, like, I needed to get something off my chest as far as like what is all the fuss about. And I think I understand it now, so it was worth talking about it.
Whether it's worth listening to is another matter indeed, but that's down to the poor listeners.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy VII. I'm going to pre-order it, maybe.
Thanks for listening to the Not Playing Podcast, part of the Not Listening Podcast Network, where you can also find the Not Watching Podcast, where we talk about movies and TV, and the Not Listening Podcast, where you can hear Adam and Co. talk about all kinds of nonsensical nonsense. You can email us at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet at or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. You can find the show notes for all our shows at notlistening.co.uk, and if you like what you've heard here, please do leave us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Until next time, bye!
With no booty, my friend, I'm inclined to agree, 'cause I suck. You suck. I suck at Call of Duty. There's no hope for me. I suck at